Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Kimberly Brooks. Here are the top 5 things you need to know this Tuesday. Number 1, the war of words in the race for president.
Elizabeth Warren has confirmed reports that Bernie Sanders told her during a private meeting that a woman could not win the White House in 2020, but Sanders has denied making that remark.
And despite the disagreement, both candidates say they're still good friends. They'll face off during tonight's debate in Iowa.
Number 2, the Ukrainian gas company that once employed Joe Biden's son Hunter has reportedly been hacked by the Russians.
Yeah, a security firm says Russian government hackers launched a cyber phishing scheme against Burisma Holdings just as the company was thrust into the impeachment investigation.
Experts believe it was an effort to gain control of the company's systems and possibly look for dirt on the Bidens. On to number 3, the impeachment showdown in Washington.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi could send the articles of impeachment to the Senate as soon as today. She's meeting with House Democrats to discuss which lawmakers will prosecute the case.
Over in the Senate, Susan Collins and Mitt Romney are pushing to hear from witnesses during the trial.
And we head to number 4. People in the Carolinas are cleaning up from severe weather.
A tornado tossed cars around like toys in a school parking lot north of Myrtle Beach.
And in North Carolina, 3 students were injured when strong winds tore through the roof of the gym of their middle school.
And finally, number 5, LSU quarterback Joe Burrow says he's living the dream.
He's now the Heisman Trophy winning, record-setting quarterback of the national champion LSU Tigers. Burrow was responsible for all 6 touchdowns last night as LSU beat Clemson 42-25.
This is what I wanted to do from the time I was 5 years old, was hoist this trophy. And bringing it back to Louisiana, I guess we're in Louisiana, but staying in Louisiana, we weren't going to let someone come in here and steal this from us in our home state.
And with his 5 touchdown passes last night, Burrow finished the season with a record 60. He's also set a championship game record with 463 passing yards.
Let's get to the big story in the race for 2020. A public feud has escalated between 2 leading candidates just hours before they face off on the debate stage in Iowa.
Yeah, Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are embroiled in a tense he said, she said, offering conflicting accounts on what Sanders said about whether a woman can win the White House in 2020. All this as another candidate exits the race. ABC's Karina Mitchell joins us with the new details. Good morning, Karina.
Good morning, Kenneth and Kimberly. The Iowa caucuses are now less than 3 weeks away, and as final preparations for tonight's debate are in full swing, the gloves are coming off. Democratic candidates Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren may agree on many things, but one thing the two apparently don't see eye to eye on is who can win the 2020 presidential election. Warren alleging the Vermont senator told her in a 2018 meeting that he didn't think a woman could win the White House. In a statement, she says, among the topics that came up was what would happen if Democrats nominated a female candidate. I thought a woman could win. He disagreed. Overnight on CNN, a spokesman for Sanders denying the comment.
But clearly Bernie Sanders did not say that a woman could not win. That clearly is not what he said.
The friction between the two beginning days earlier after a separate report claiming the Sanders campaign circulated talking points that criticized Warren for being a candidate for the elite.
I was disappointed to hear that Bernie is sending his volunteers out to trash me.
Sanders not denying the report, but saying it's a view he doesn't support.
We have hundreds of employees. Elizabeth Warren has hundreds of employees, and people sometimes say things that they shouldn't. You have heard me give many speeches. Have I ever said one negative word about Elizabeth Warren?
The one thing the two do agree on is defeating Donald Trump. The president quick to lash out at another Democratic contender, billionaire Mike Bloomberg, whose political ads criticized Trump's efforts to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, tweeting, Mini Mike Bloomberg is spending a lot of money on false advertising. I was the person who saved pre-existing conditions in your health care. Bloomberg firing back, tweeting, glad to see you're watching our ads. I know management isn't your strong suit, so perhaps you don't know your Justice Department supports a suit that would undermine protections for pre-existing conditions. Now heading into what should be a lively debate tonight, a new Quinnipiac poll shows health care is a key issue for Democrats, and the same national poll shows Joe Biden leading Democrats, followed by Sanders and then Warren. Kimberly?
Yeah, Karina, just wondering, how does Cory Booker's departure affect the race moving forward?
Yeah, well, he certainly brought a lot of energy and charisma to the race. And now that he and Kamala Harris are gone, there's only one other African-American, Deval Patrick, left in the race. And on tonight's stage, there will clearly be a lack of diversity. Kimberly, Kenneth.
All right, Karina Mitchell here. Thank you. Some of the stories we're watching this morning, authorities in the Philippines are on alert for a massive volcanic eruption that could threaten the homes of nearly 1 million people. The volcano has been spewing ash and lava. Tens of thousands of people have already evacuated. The volcano is about 40 miles south of Manila. Despite the alert, normal operations resumed today at Manila's airport.
And climate scientists say the oceans are heating up so quickly, it's as if 5 atomic bombs are dropped into the water every second. Last year saw the highest water temperature ever recorded. One of the study's authors says most of the warming is from man-made climate change.
Meanwhile, we have a new warning about the wildfire disaster in Australia. NASA says the smoke from the fires will soon complete a full circle around the globe. Back on the ground, the smoke has delayed the qualifying matches for the Australian Open after a player appeared to collapse from the smoke Monday. Meanwhile, efforts continue around the clock to treat the animals hurt in the fires. This baby wombat was rescued by the owner of a bed and breakfast.
And Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is facing some harsh backlash after making a donation to help with Australia's bushfires. Bezos disclosed that Amazon was donating $1 million Australian dollars, or about 690,000 US dollars, to relief efforts. Plenty of online critics pointed out that Bezos is said to be worth about $117 billion. One estimate said Bezos earns that $690,000 in about 5 minutes.
The U.S. has expelled 21 Saudi military students more than a month after that deadly attack at a Florida Navy base.
And those sent home were not linked to the shooting rampage by a fellow cadet that left 3 American sailors dead. But officials say that most of them expressed jihadist ideology on social media. ABC's Serena Marshall has more.
21 Saudi nationals returned to Saudi Arabia 5 weeks after the horrific mass shooting at the Pensacola Naval Station. Though none are connected to the December attack, authorities say they made a chilling discovery. At least 17 military trainees were found with jihadi literature and 15 with child pornography on their computers. U.S. attorneys reviewed each of the cases and decided none would face prosecution.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia determined that this material demonstrated conduct unbecoming an officer in the Royal Saudi Air Force and in the Royal Navy.
It's a sensitive issue for the U.S. 15 of the 19 hijackers in the September 11th attacks were Saudis, and the Saudi pilot who fatally shot down 3 sailors and wounded 8 others was a radical who the FBI says was secretly planning to kill his American colleagues for months.
This was an act of terrorism. The evidence shows that the shooter was motivated by jihadist ideology.
New evidence suggests Lieutenant Mohammed Saeed al-Shamrani was planning a large-scale massacre with more than 180 rounds of ammunition for his handgun, which had an extended magazine. The FBI has no evidence the gunman killed at the scene had help, but agents are scrambling to access his 2 badly damaged iPhones. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
Authorities claim Apple has been unwilling to assist them in accessing the gunman's 2 damaged iPhones, but Apple says they've been cooperating and weren't even told about the second phone until last week.
There are new details about the attack on a Jewish grocery store in New Jersey. Authorities say it could have been far more deadly. Investigators say the killers who targeted the store in Jersey City last month had a bomb in their van that could have killed people as far as 5 football fields away. But officials say the plan was foiled when the suspects came across a detective in a nearby cemetery. That police detective and 3 bystanders in the store were killed.
The woman convicted of urging her boyfriend to kill himself will not get her day in the Supreme Court. The High Court has refused to hear Michelle Carter's case. She's serving 15 months for involuntary manslaughter. She encouraged Conrad Roy to take his life in text by phone. Carter's attorneys argued convicting her based on her words violated the First Amendment.
And here in New York, there was some real star power in court.
Supermodel Gigi Hadid showed up for jury duty on Monday, and she remains a prospective juror in the case against former Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein. Hadid was among those who raised her hand when the judge asked potential jurors if they knew anyone involved in the case. She's scheduled to be back for further questioning later in the week.
And a big announcement in the auto industry. The North American car of the year is the new Corvette. The new sports car accelerates as fast as a Lamborghini, but costs 4 times less. Meanwhile, the honor of the top SUV went to the Kia Telluride, and the top truck went to the Jeep Gladiator, which is part pickup and part utility vehicle. Well, coming up, the unprecedented family summit called by Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, what came out of that closed-door meeting regarding Harry and Meghan's decision to step back from royal life right after this. Hey there and welcome back. We turn now to the cheating scandal rocking Major League Baseball. The Houston Astros have fired their manager and their general manager.
It comes after an investigation found the Astros were stealing signs from rival teams. But the question many people are asking is why no players are being punished. This morning, anger and disappointment across Houston and Major League Baseball.
I was there through all the hard years, and now to see that, like, the success taken away sort of by breaking the rules of the game was a little hard to see.
A league investigation found the Astros stole signs from opposing pitchers, giving their hitters an advantage during their World Series championship season in 2017.
The Houston Astros are world champions!
The team fired manager A.J. Hinch and general manager Jeff Luhnow shortly after the league suspended them.
This is a tough day. I've had a lot of tough days over the years. But yeah, this is a tough one.
Luhnow apologized in a statement overnight, but denied he's a cheater, saying he did not know rules were being broken. I am deeply upset that I wasn't informed of any misconduct because I would have stopped it. Hinch also apologized, saying he didn't endorse or participate in the sign-stealing practice. But the league's investigation reveals virtually all of the Astros players knew of the scheme. The league says the team used a camera in the outfield stands that could see the catcher's signal to the pitcher. Someone from the Astros would then sit at this table with a monitor of the camera feed and bang on a trash can to let the batter know what pitch was coming. One sports writer says you can hear the trash can being hit in this video. This game in September 2017 was weeks before the team's World Series win. The Astros now face a record $5 million fine and will lose several top draft picks in the next 2 years. But no players will be punished. The commissioner noted in the league's report that punishing the players would be impractical given the large number of players involved and the fact that many of those players now play for other clubs. The investigation now turns to Boston Red Sox manager Alex Cora, who served as bench coach for the Astros before taking the job in Boston. The league's report calls Cora an active participant in the scheme. And now the Red Sox are under investigation for allegedly stealing signs during the 2018 season when they won the World Series. ESPN reports the discipline for Cora is going to be harsh. The Red Sox did not immediately comment.
So that's our question of the day. What do you think of this punishment? Is it enough? Should the players be punished? Tell us what you think in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live. So now we're moving on to Iran, where anger over the government's admission to accidentally shooting down a passenger jet is boiling over. And new video appears to show security forces firing on protesters with live ammunition. So let's go across the pond to Julia McFarland in our London bureau for the latest. Good morning, Julia.
Morning, Kimberly. Yeah, that's right. There's been a lot of video circulating. Protests over the weekend have continued yesterday, and a lot of video appears to show a lot of these protests descending into violent. Security forces apparently firing live rounds and tear gas into crowds to try and disperse these protests. It's been really interesting watching some of these scenes. We've seen images of students and protesters avoiding walking on American and Israeli flags, people pulling down posters of Qasem Soleimani. He's the Iranian general who was killed in that U.S. drone strike that has caused this most recent flare-up in tensions. Also, people pulling down posters of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. Just this morning, we received an update. The Iranian judiciary released a statement that was read out on Iranian state TV saying that they have made arrests related to the accidental shoot-down of that Ukrainian passenger jet that killed all 176 people on board. That announcement coming shortly after President Hassan Rouhani said in a televised speech he called for a special court to be set up by the judiciary to start an investigation. He called for an independent judge and dozens of witnesses. He said the world is watching this court. This is not an ordinary case, he said.
And let's move on to another big story that seems minor in comparison. The Queen agreeing to Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan's wishes to step back from royal duties, but there are still some details, Julie, that need to be worked out here.
Right, Kenneth. I mean, all of us who've been following this case, it has to be said, I think a lot of us had a lot of skepticism over whether a resolution would be announced yesterday after this extraordinary summit between the Queen, Prince Charles, and Princes William and Harry, simply because the kind of split that Harry and Meghan mentioned in their statement last week that caused this storm, that kind of model for a halfway in, halfway out relationship with the royal family hasn't really been done before. In practice, you're either in like you are a senior member of the royal family, or you're out, like some of Princess Anne's children have opted to be completely out of the formal working royal circle. Now, the Queen issued a statement a few hours into the early evening, just around 5 o'clock local time, and it was a really interesting statement, guys, because clearly the Queen, this is not what the Queen wants. The Queen said, we would have preferred them to remain full-time working members of the royal family. However, we respect and understand their wish to live a more independent life as a family while remaining a valued part of my family. A rare personal remark from the Queen, who doesn't normally say these sorts of things, that she would have preferred things to go down a different route. However, she says that there will be a period of transition, and she once again repeated that these are complex matters and that there is still a ways to go. There's still some time to be taken, and she says she hopes that final decisions will be reached in the coming days.
Yeah, people are really looking for those glimpses of a grandmother. Really, I think we're used to seeing the Queen in such this pomp and circumstance and all this very formal, sense of duty. And here we are seeing really just a grandmother here who wants her grandson and his new wife to be happy, it appears.
A grandmother and also a boss and a custodian of an institution that is looking increasingly vulnerable and fragile. And so all of these complex things, she is having to walk a very fine line across a number of different duties to her family and, of course, to the crown.
Congratulations, Julie. I think it's the first time we've called the Queen a boss.
Yeah, well, she is a boss, of course.
Yeah, she's a boss.
Ultimate girl boss.
All right, thank you, Julie. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Let's check our notifications now, starting with this swimmer along the west coast of Ireland. Mother Nature isn't cooperating as he tries to climb out of the water in Galway. Apparently, he went for his daily swim despite a storm packing 80-mile-per-hour winds. He stayed in for about 5 minutes there.
And next, to an elephant that thinks it's a cat burglar, watch it climb the wall to steal some mangoes.
He goes right over that wall, a couple of steps, no problem. And then he just went right back, so it's all good.
Amazing.
All good.
Casual.
And Lizzo is finally revealing what she keeps inside her infamous tiny purse.
Yes, I've always wanted to know this. The Grammy nominee is showing fans on TikTok that her purse is a lot like Mary Poppins' bag, somehow holding a pencil, the remote, chips, a bottle of wine, an extra outfit, and so much more.
The video has racked up nearly 3 million views in less than a day. I love that, Lizzo. All right, we turn now to the growing backlash over the Oscar nominations.
Yes, the list of prospective winners is once again being criticized for its lack of diversity. Fans and stars say they're shocked and dismayed over who did not make the list. This morning, surprise and dismay across Hollywood in reaction to the Oscar nominations. The Joker took the most nominations with 11, including one for Best Picture.
This year, 9 films are nominated in Best Picture. None of them is about the African-American experience. So that's the bigger issue.
Critics say diversity is lacking across all major categories. The only person of color nominated for an acting Oscar is Cynthia Erivo for her role as Harriet Tubman in Harriet.
I'm gonna be free or die.
One critic tweeting, the Academy nominating exactly one performer of color in an acting category, but nominating her for playing Harriet Tubman feels like an on-the-nose joke in an episode of The Critic. Lupita Nyong'o was not nominated as expected for her role in Us. And it's being called a historic snub for Awkwafina, who was not nominated after becoming the first woman of Asian descent to win the Golden Globe for lead actress. The Best Director list this year is once again all men, including Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, his 9th nomination of his career.
Congratulations to those men.
Greta Gerwig was snubbed in the Best Director category, even though her movie Little Women received 6 nominations, including Best Picture and Writing.
My girls have a way of getting into mischief.
The movie's producer, Amy Pascal, said in a statement they're honored to be a part of only the third movie ever to be nominated for Best Picture that's written, directed, and produced exclusively by women. Another big surprise.
They stole from everybody.
Jennifer Lopez, considered a sure bet for Best Supporting Actress for Hustlers, left off the list. One fan tweeting, Jennifer Lopez was snubbed from her first ever Oscar nominations so others could be recognized for playing the same basic white women characters. Meanwhile, Adam Sandler is finding the funny side of his Oscar snub, tweeting congratulations to his Waterboy mama, Kathy Bates, for her nomination. Bates responding, I love you, Bobby Boucher. You was robbed. The lack of diversity comes after the Academy announced 4 years ago that it would make historic changes to increase diversity. Critics now saying those changes haven't been enough.
Coming up, a busy day ahead on this Tuesday, January 14th. We'll tell you what to watch out for.
Plus, the lost letter that inspired a hashtag, why thousands are trying to find Emma's dad, when we come back.
Here's what to watch out for today. Democrats running for president are set to take the stage for the first debate of 2020 with the Iowa caucuses now less than 3 weeks away. The debate comes just as Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey ended his campaign yesterday.
Meanwhile, President Trump is scheduled to receive an intelligence briefing before traveling to a campaign rally in Milwaukee. And the Bridgegate scandal heads to the Supreme Court today as 2 aides to then New Jersey Governor Chris Christie will ask the justices to throw out their fraud convictions. Bridget Ann Kelly and Bill Baroni were found guilty of conspiring to close traffic lanes on the George Washington Bridge in an act of political retribution.
The Jeopardy! Greatest of All Time tournament is back tonight, and here comes Jeopardy! James. You know the song. Here comes Jeopardy! James. Here comes Jeopardy! James. James Holzhauer is looking to even the score with Ken Jennings, who leads with 2 matches. Holzhauer has 1 and Brad Rutter has 0.
And it's a big anniversary in Springfield. The Simpsons became a regular series 30 years ago today after starting as a series of shorts.
Bart. We love The Simpsons. Hey, finally from us this morning, a letter discovered on the ground at Denver's airport has sparked a new hashtag, Find Emma's Dad.
Yeah, Alex Roberts was traveling through the airport when she saw the paper on the floor. She was about to throw it away, but when she read it, she realized it was anything but garbage.
It was a note from a child. You could tell right away because of the handwriting, and then I read through it, and it was about the sweetest thing I'd ever read.
Okay, so here's some of Emma's notes. It says, in all the things I do, I want to do them just like you. Although right now I'm sort of small, like you, I want to be brave and smart because I love you, Daddy, with all of my heart.
Very sweet. Let's hope that letter gets back or gets into the hands of Emma's dad.
Yes.
Very cute. I understand
it's been
why
retweeted a number of times, so hopefully.
Also, kudos to that woman who saw some trash or what she thought was trash and said, I'm going to pick it up and throw it away.
Absolutely, because most people at the airport are focused.
A lot of times you don't want to touch what's on the ground as well, but good for her. She's like, I don't want to have any litter here at the airport. All right, that's it for us. Kimberly Brooks, it's been great to have you here on This Morning America.
I appreciate
You're
it.
going to come back next week, right?
I'm going to come back next week. We're going to do it again. Yes.
Can't wait. Have a good one.